All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our reading of the classic Christmas film, A Christmas Story. We have a fabulous cast here tonight. To my left, we have Curtis playing the old man, aka Ralphie's father in the film. We have Mary doing our scene description. Very important stuff. We have Anne playing Ralphie's mother in the film. We have Angie playing Randy, Ralphie's little brother who doesn't like to eat, and also playing Ralphie's teacher, Miss Shields. And then we have Jared playing Flick, who, if you've seen the movie, gets his tongue stuck to the pole. And he's also playing Grover Dill, one of the bullies in the movie. We have Travis, of course, playing young Ralphie. And then I'll be doing the narration as adult Ralphie. And then we have Eric playing Schwartz, Ralphie's other friend, and then Santa Claus as well. And then, yeah, I think I got everybody. Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Santa, I know him.
Yeah. Whenever you're ready, let's do it.
A Christmas Story, a film based on original material by Gene Shepard, screenplay by Gene Shepard, Bob Clark, and Leigh Brown. Exterior, the steel mill loom, long shot, dusk. Graphic says Northern Indiana, sometime in the 1940s. Fade up to find Homan, a steel town squatted beside Lake Michigan. Camera pans to the city, then begins a series of cuts to show ever more microscopic, cosmic views of Homan. The narrator's voice, Gene Shepard, fades up. We hear a medley of classic Christmas carols, which form a striking contrast to the images. Ralphie, Flick, and Schwartz run along a slag heap in foreground. Randy trails behind.
Homan, Indiana. It clings precariously to the underbody of Chicago like a barnacle clings to the rotting hulk of a tramp steamer. On the far horizon, beyond the railroad yards and the great refinery tanks, lay our own mysterious private mountain range. Dark and mysterious, cold and uninhabited, the steel mills stacked like malignant dominoes against the steel gray skies.
Exterior, junkyard, dusk. Kids run past dilapidated fence.
Early December had seen the first of the great blizzards of that year. The wind howling down out of the Canadian wilds a few hundred miles to the north screamed over frozen Lake Michigan.
Exterior, Pulaski's candy store, dusk. Kids race by Randy trails.
And hit Homan, laying on the town great drifts of snow and long, story-high icicles and sub-zero temperatures, where the air cracked and sang, streetcar wires creaked under caked ice, and kids plodded to school through 45 miles an hour gales, tilting forward like tiny furred radiator ornaments.
Exterior, downtown Homan night, filled with cars and shoppers.
But over it all, like a faint, thin offstage chorus, was the building excitement. Christmas was on its way. Each day was more exciting than the last because Christmas was one day closer.
Exterior, downtown Homan, tracking slot, kids weaving amongst shoppers, night.
Lovely, beautiful, glorious Christmas, around which the entire kid year revolved. Downtown Homan was prepared for its yearly bacchanalia of peace on earth and goodwill to men.
Exterior, Higbee's department store, extra night. Camera cuts to a wide shot of Higbee's,
I think.
Higbee's, thank you. Higbee's department store window. Citizens stand oohing and eyeing in front of the Yule splendor. Camera moves in towards the window.
Higbee's department store's corner window was traditionally a major high water mark of the pre-Christmas season. It set the tone, the motif of their giant Yuletide jubilee. Kids were brought in from miles around just to see the window. Old codgers would recall vintage years when the window had flowered more fulsomely than in ordinary times. This was one of those years. The magnificent display had been officially unveiled on a crowded Saturday night. It was an instant smash hit.
Camera pans to the rapt faces peering in. One little boy, Ralphie, comes bobbing up between the legs of startled grown-ups. We see Flick, Schwartz, and Randy also.
First knights packed earmuff to earmuff, their steamy breath clouding up the sparkling plate glass, jostled in rapt admiration before a golden tinkling panoply of mechanized electronic joy.
Camera pans the window. Over this shot, we see the opening titles. This is the heyday of the seven dwarfs and their virginal den mother, Snow White. Walt Disney's seven cutie pies hammer and chisel and paint while Santa, bouncing Snow White on his mechanical knee, ho-ho-hos through 8 strategically placed loudspeakers, interspersed by choruses of hi-ho, it's off to work we go. Grumpy sits at the controls of a miniature 8-wheeled Rock Island road steam engine, and Sleepy plays a marimba. Well, in the background, inexorably, Mrs. Claus ceaselessly irons a red shirt. Sparkling artificial snowdrifts down and on Shirley Temple dolls, flexible flyers, and Tinker toy sets glowing in the golden spotlight. In the foreground, a frontier stockade built of Lincoln logs is manned by a company of kilt-led Highlanders who were undoubtedly fending off an attack by 6 U.S. Army medium tanks. History has always been vague in Indiana. A few feet away stands an Arthurian cardboard castle with Raggedy Andy sitting on the drawbridge, his feet in the moat through which a Lionel freight train burping real smoke goes round and round. Dopey sits in Amos and Andy's pedal-operated fresh air taxicab beside a stuffed panda holding a lollipop in his paw, bearing the heart-tugged legend, "Hug me." From fluffy cotton clouds above, Dion quintuplet dolls wearing plaid golf knickers hang from billowing parachutes, having just bailed out of high-flying balsa wood Fokker tripplane. All in all, Santa's workshop makes Salvador Dali look like Norman Rockwell.
It was a good year, maybe even a great one. Like a swelling Christmas balloon, the excitement mounted until the whole town tossed restlessly in bed and made plans for the big day. Already my own scheme was well underway, a scheme whose Machiavellian brilliance and Olympian perseverance made that Christmas stand out among Christmases past.
Camera pans from Ralphie's rapt face to the beaming face of Red Ryder, who was hustling the Daisy BB rifle to aching kids everywhere. We dissolve to the entrance face of Ralphie. Interior Ralph Parker's house day. Camera pulls back to reveal that Ralphie is reading Boy's Life. Downstairs, we hear the hectic routine of a school morning. The omnipresent radio crackles in the background. Ralphie's father, hereafter known as the old man, roars dimly in the distance as he fights the good fight against the indefiable Indian winter Ralphie's mother called indefeatable Indiana winter. Sorry. Ralphie's mother calls intermittently the waning minutes before school deadline.
I remember clearly, itchingly, nervously, maddening the first time I laid eyes on, pictured in a 3-color smeared illustration and a full-page back cover ad in Boy's Life.
Camera cuts to Ralphie's point of view and starts a slow zoom into the smiling face of Red Ryder. We see the following copy on the page. Boys, at last, you can own an official Red Ryder carabine action 200-shot range model air rifle.
Red Ryder, his jaw squared, staring out at me manfully and speaking directly to me, eye to eye. In his hand was the knurled stock of his beautiful, as coolly deadly looking, a piece of weaponry as I'd ever laid eyes on.
Camera pans over its page, seeing the following copy as we hear Ralphie begin reading it out loud to himself.
Yes. Fellas, this 200-shot the one I where's Yes, fellows, this 200-shot carbine action air rifle, just like the one I used in all my range wars, chasing them rustlers and bad guys, can be your very own. It has a special secret compass in the stock for telling the direction if you're lost on the trail, and also an official Red Ryder Sundale for telling time out in the wilds. You just lay your cheek against close up and you just can't miss. Tell Dad it's great for target shooting and varmints, and it'll make a swell Christmas gift.
The sound of Ralph's voice reverberates and echoes.
Make a swell Christmas gift. Make a swell Christmas gift. Make a swell gift.
Camera cuts to Ralphie and begins a slow zoom into his eyes.
A swell Christmas gift. Here was Red Rider himself nailing me, his pal Ralphie, with his calculatingly demonic underplay, knowing full well that it was not merely a swell Christmas gift, but the Christmas gift, the quintessential Christmas gift, the holy grail of Christmas gifts. For the first time in my life, the initial symptoms of genuine lunacy, of mania, set in.
Camera has arrived at an extremely close shot of Ralphie's eye. We dissolve to the following, which is Ralphie's daydream fantasy. Dissolve to interior Ralphie's kitchen. Extreme close up Ralphie's eye day. Camera pulls back to see Ralphie on one knee, his trusty Red Rider air rifle at the ready. As camera continues to pull back, we see Ralphie's father huddled in the corner, his arms about Ralphie's mother, whose eyes roll back in cosmic fear. At her feet, Randy, Ralphie's brother, is clasped in his mother's desperate arms, his fingernail poised before his chattering teeth. His eyes stare as if it's beheld the coming of the millennium. Ralphie's father speaks.
Save us, Ralphie, for your mother's sake.
Close up, Ralphie.
With Herculean calm, Ralphie turns to them.
Don't worry, Dad. As long as I get old Blue.
He holds up his BB air rifle. Then camera cuts behind what is obviously the kitchen sink of Ralphie's house. Slowly, Ralphie's face appears over the edge. The steely eyes survey the scene before him. Exterior backyard, Ralphie's point of view day. Looking past the kitchen faucet and out the kitchen window, we see what Ralphie sees. At various points across the backyard, desperate men are creeping on their bellies across the snow towards the house. There are about 8 of them, and each wears a thin bandit burglar type black mask, the kind that looks like goggles. They all wear striped shirts and carry backpacks. One nears the house. 2 are slinking over the fence. 1 crawls through the garage door. Med shot Ralphie. He surveys the situation coolly. Then fast as a whip snake, he leaps up and snaps off 3 shots. Long shot the yard. 3 guys leap aerobatically into the air, mortally wounded. The others stand up, stricken with dumbness by the sting of Old Blue. They race unceremoniously and plunge headlong over the fence and disappear down the alley. We cut back to the family. They cheer wildly, embracing Ralphie. Ralphie stands tolerating this stoically but kindly.
You saved us, Ralphie. You saved us. We all goners,
You saved
Ralphie.
us. We're all
You saved
goners,
us.
Ralphie. You saved us.
Me and old Blue, of course. There were some that didn't want me to have old Blue.
Close up the family.
They looked down in abject humiliation under my stern but kindly reprimand. The truth had smote them.
Close up Ralphie.
I turned away after a moment, staring into the danger zone bravely, heroically, with just a trace showing in my eyes of that distant hurt that was afflicted upon me by my now contrite family.
Suddenly, Ralphie is startled and we hear a voice. Back to reality.
Ralphie, Randy, downstairs in 2 minutes.
Interior bedroom, Ralphie day. We realize Ralphie has been jarred out of his fantasy by his mother's voice. He leaps up and scurries to get ready. Randy plunges into the drawer and starts to do his little brother thing. 2 minutes mean 2 minutes.
Mothers know nothing about creeping marauders burrowing through the snow towards the kitchen, where only you and you alone stand between your tiny huddled family and insensate evil. There was no question about it. Not only should I have such a gun, it was an absolute necessity. Race memories of kid plots through the ages begin to surge through my cortex into conscious strategy.
Interior parents' room, bedroom, Ralph day. Camera follows Ralphie into his parents' room where we see him pick up a copy of Screen Romances and slips Boy's Life between the covers.
My mother, grabbing for her copy of Screen Romances, would find herself cleverly euchred into reading a Red Rider sales pitch.
Ralphie, Randy.
Medium shot the hallway. Camera follows Randy and Ralphie down the hallway, losing Randy and following Ralphie to the bathroom door. He barges in, and we find that the old man in the final strokes of shaving. He looks down at Ralphie. Ralphie cleverly puts the boy's life behind his back.
What you got there?
Nothing.
Nothing. The classic kid rejoinder of all time. If only the victims of the Inquisition had understood the power of that unassailable defense, the world would be very different today.
The old man looks back to the mirror to wipe the lather off. He walks from the bathroom.
There you go.
The door closes. Camera follows the old man as he walks to the dining room table, sits down and unfolds his morning paper, immediately goes to the sports page.
Son of a bitch. Trade Dobelski. I don't believe it.
Camera pans up to find Ralphie's mother coming to a table with breakfast.
What was that?
For Christ's sake, the Sox trade Dobelski. Only guy they got for Schottenhoffer, a good, solid 187 hitter. He'll make a great White Sox.
That's nice. Ralphie!
Medium shot Ralphie, we see Ralphie placing a boy's life inside one of his father's Field and Stream magazines. Camera pans with Ralphie from the bathroom to the kitchen. He and Randy climb up to the table for breakfast. Randy stares at his food. Randy never eats.
My fevered brain seethed with the effort of trying to come up with the infinitely subtle devices necessary to implant the Red Ryder Range model air rifle indelibly into my parents' consciousness without their being aware that I had planted it there.
Flick says he saw some grizzly bears near Pulaski's candy store the other day.
There is a sudden silence.
My parents looked at me as if I had lobsters crawling out of my ears. I could tell I was in imminent danger of overplaying my hand. Casually, I switched tactics.
I'll bet you'll never guess what I got you for Christmas, Dad.
Let's see. Is it a new furnace?
My father was one of the most feared furnace fighters in northern Indiana. People in northern Indiana fought winter tooth and claw bodily, and there was never a let-up. That's why my little brother knocked over his milk. Indiana wit is pungent and to the point.
Hurry up. Time for school.
Yeah, I'm running late already.
Camera holds on Ralphie and his mother as she clears the table and he begins to pull on his galoshes.
Round one was over. Parents 1, kids 0. I could feel the Christmas noose beginning to tighten. Maybe what happened next was inevitable. My mother, innocuously scouring a used oatmeal pot, suddenly asked out of the blue.
What would you like for Christmas?
Horrified, I heard myself blurt it out.
An official Red Ryder carbon action 200 shot range model air rifle.
I was dead. Even before she opened her mouth, I knew what was coming.
Oh no, you'll shoot your eye out.
It was the classic mother BB gun block. That deadly phrase, many times before by hundreds of mothers, was not surmountable by any means known to kiddom. I had really booted it. But such was my mania, my desire for a Red Ryder carbine, that I immediately began to rebuild the dike.
I was just kidding. Even though Flick is getting one, I guess I'd like some Lincoln Logs.
I couldn't believe my own ears. Lincoln Logs. She'd never buy it.
They're dangerous. I don't want anybody shooting his eye out.
The boom had been lowered and I was under it.
We hear the sounds of the old man being chased by a pack of hounds. The old man curses as he fights them off.
Get out of here, you dumb buggers!
We hear the loud yelp, yelp, as he obviously gotten in at least one good kick.
Goddamn moles is frozen up again.
Camera follows him as he marches to the sink, grabs a large pan and fills it with water and deposits it on the stove, flicking on the gas.
Some men are Baptists, some are Methodists, others Catholics or Jews. My father was an Oldsmobile man.
Christ. The son of a bitch would freeze up on the equator.
Little pictures.
Just at that moment, we hear a soft little puff of an explosion. The old man's ears perks up.
Wait.
He cocks his head to one side like a manic roadrunner. The sound comes again. A soft puff, a blue smoke billows from the furnace grate.
Son of a bitch, Clinker!
It was the Indiana war cry, and he was off down the basement steps, knocking over ball jars and kicking roller skates out of the way, bellowing.
The son of a bitch has gone on again! A goddamn clanky son of a bitch!
Oh, the language. We hear the horrendous sound of the old man tumbling down the stairs and hitting bottom.
All right, you two, out the door. 3 minutes.
My mother planned these tactical retreats whenever my father was about to go into combat with the Iron Dragon in the basement. In the heat of battle, my father wove a tapestry of obscenity that, as far as we know, is still hanging in the space over Lake Michigan.
The sounds that came hurtling out of that basement would cause such loss of face to the producer of Japanese monster movie that he would be forced to impale himself post haste on the nearest ceremonial sword. Roars, clanks, snorts, rattles, mumbles, groans, screams. Meanwhile, Randy and Ralphie start to put on their overclothes.
For Christ's sake, open up the dumper, will you? Hallelujah, all the way down again. God damn it!
Mother flies to the kitchen and pulls the chain-marked draft. Camera pans back to the cellar door and holds. All is silent for a few seconds. Then suddenly a great roar and the sound of footsteps pounding up the steps. The door flies open and the old man emerges from a cloud of blue smoke like Mephistopheles appearing before Faust.
For Christ's sake, stupid ass in the goddamn dumper.
He turns and disappears into the blue cloud, yelling.
Go to the goddamn office, or I'm gonna be like, God damn it!
We hear the inevitable crash as the old man hits bottom again. Mother pushes the basement door closed and turns to the kids. The old man toils on in the Stygian darkness below the house. Camera follows Mother as she moves to help Randy with his clothes.
Preparing to go to school was like getting ready for extended deep sea diving. Long johns, corduroy knickers, checkered flannel, lumberjack shirt, 4 sweaters, fleece-lined leatherette sheepskin, helmet, goggles, mittens with leatherette gauntlets, and a large red star with an Indian chief's face in the middle.
Ah, the Midwest winter. Mother has Randy practically on his head, trying to stuff him into his snowsuit. Finally, she gets him in and stands him up. He stands with both hands extended from his side like a tiny scarecrow. Mother begins to wrap an enormous scarf around his neck. We hear a faint whimpering coming from inside Randy's suit. The sound is totally muffled. Randy stands forlornly with his arms sticking straight out like an abandoned semaphore. He mumbles fiercely.
What did you say?
He is quite desperate by now.
Mom, we'll be late.
Just wait, Ralph.
She begins the long, painful task of unwinding the scarf. Randy is quite frantic. Finally, she gets the scarf off and part of the hood, exposing Randy's face. We hear what he's saying.
I can't put my arms down.
Mother stands back and appraises the situation. Sure enough, Randy can't put his arms down. Mother steps forward and forces Randy's arms down to his side. As soon as she steps away, however, they spring back up. Randy whimpers. Mother stands forward and tries again, and then up they spring again.
You'll put your arms down when you get to school.
In Indiana, sometimes solutions are very practical.
She proceeds to rewind Randy against his furious protests.
There was no question of staying home. Cold was something that was accepted, like air, clouds, and parents, a fact of nature, and as such could not be used in any fraudulent scheme to stay out of school. My mother would simply throw her shoulder against the front door, pushing back the advancing drifts and stone ice.
We see just what the narrator is describing.
The wind raking the living room rug with angry fury for an instant, and we would be launched, one after the other, my brother and I like astronauts into unfriendly space.
Exterior Parker House day. Outside the door, we see Randy and Ralphie leaning into the fierce wind. The door clangs shut.
The door clanged shut behind us, and that was it. It was make school or die.
I feel like this is how the rumors of uphill in the snow both ways came about. Long shot of Ralphie's block. We see Ralphie's house, black smoke billowing from the drafts. The old man's tilt with the windmill goes by. We see Ralphie and the hapless, stiff-armed Randy coming up their walkway to the street. Camera takes in the whole block, and we see the other kids on their way.
Scattered out over the icy waste around us could be seen other tiny, befurred jots of wind-driven humanity, all painfully toiling towards the Warren G. Harding School, miles away over the tundra. All of us were bound for geography lessons involving the exports of Peru, reading lessons dealing with fat cats and dogs named Spot.
Closer shot, Ralphie sees his friend Flick and runs towards him. Randy struggles after, the perpetual kid brother.
Hey, Flick, wait up. Wait up.
Ralphie runs up to Flick and they begin that inexplicable ritual common to boys everywhere, trading punches in the arm, first one, then the other, until it's obviously hurts like hell. It's all rooted, no doubt, in some dim territorial imperative stretching back over the centuries.
What you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing? Picking goobers?
Flick was cool, even then.
Exterior Schwartz house day. Just at this moment, they pass Schwartz's house. Schwartz plows down the driveway towards them. The arm ritual is repeated between Ralphie and Schwartz. The pecking order is important in kids' rituals, and apparently there is an order and reason behind it. Indecipherable to adults, but apparently sufficient to kids.
Hey, listen, smartass. I asked my old man about sticking your tongue to a metal poles in the winter, and he says it will freeze right to the pole, just like I told you.
Ah, baloney. What do your old man know about anything?
He knows because he once saw a guy stick his tongue to a railroad track on a bet, and the fire department had to come to the guy and get the guy's tongue off the track because he couldn't get it off. It froze right there.
I think he's right, Flick.
Ah, geez, you guys are real suckers for anything. My brother says that's an old wife's tale, and so does my mother.
Yeah, well, he's an old man, all right? She ought to know.
Schwartz and Ralphie laugh. Crazy kid laughter.
Hey, watch it, jerkhead. Don't talk about my ma.
Any reference to one's mother was like throwing down the gauntlet, no matter how vague or remote the slight. Just the mere mention of one's mother with any adjective in the dictionary, no matter how innocuous, was grounds for instant and ruinous vendetta.
Oh, he didn't mean nothing, Flick.
Oh, so no your mother jokes? Flick bristles. The ceremony is played out.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't say nothing against their mother, Flick. I was just kidding.
Yeah, well, just watch it.
Exterior alleyway day. They continue turning the corner down an alleyway.
That simple phrase, yeah, well, just watch it. If only it had been understood and deployed by statesmen through the ages, untold mayhem and carnage could have been averted. Imagine Chamberlain standing up at the end of the Munich conference and glaring down at Hitler with steely eyes and muttering, yeah, well, just watch it. Do you think there would have been any invasion of Poland or Czechoslovakia or Austria or any World War II? Not on your blue-striped garters.
Somehow, all of this is resolved in more arm punching. They start off toward school.
Yeah, well, your old man is pulling your leg, and you're too dumb to know it.
All right, I dare you to try it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
says who?
that's me.
Oh, yeah?
The exact exchange and nuance of phrase in this ritual is very important. One misplaced oh yeah or says who could immediately destroy one's credibility, demolish one's argument, and subject the luckless offender to immediate and prolonged ostracism.
I double dare you.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
Oh, is a double dog dare coming? Camera moves in slowly on the group as they acknowledge something off stage. A slow, ominous chord of music begins to creep up, not unlike the theme music from Jaws. Bum, 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 bum. It grows during the sequence. Camera pans to one face to another as they peer, fear-struck. Cut to their point of view, close up a wooden slatted fence. We can just see enough through the boards to vaguely sense a figure moving on the other side. The music oozes up ominously. Camera pans to the fence as the figures glide by. Cut back to the three hapless ones. 3 quick cuts, their faces as we watch like mesmerized mice. Cut back to the fence. The ominous presence glides on. Camera tilts down slowly to a break in the fence. We see a pair of brogand feet stop. The ominous music swells to a crescendo. The feet stand there planted menacingly. Cut to our 3 little mice as they tremble, wide-eyed. Cut back to the fence. The feet on the brogand stand for one more moment, then move off arrogantly. Camera tilts up to see the figure disappear behind the fence. We hear a nasty, evil laugh tailing off in the wind. Cut back to the boys. Relief floods their faces.
That was close.
Let's get out of here.
They bolt across the road toward school. Exterior grade school, long shot. Warren G. Harding grade school day. Snow covers the ground. Ice sheets cover the basketball courts. We hear a bell ring. Kids scurry. Interior school, close-up group of kids day. They huddle together conspiratorially, obviously passing something around. Cut to Miss Shields, fourth grade teacher in the classic mold. She moves to her desk. The kids hurry to their desks.
Good morning, class.
Good morning, Nikki.
Shields.
We hear the class answer in unison, but they sound funny, like a comic takeoff of a Japanese kamikaze pilot. Miss Shields looks puzzled for a brief moment, then slowly she holds her hands out, palm up with a studied professional patience. Camera pans from Miss Shields to the class. Long shot, the class. Every kid in the class is wearing a set of wax teeth. We see them all grinning and giggling at her. They look like 25 demented beavers. Cut to Miss Shields. She wiggles her palm with subtle meaning. Cut to the kids. One by one, they file past holding in their wax teeth. Close up, Miss Shields' hand. The wax teeth are handed over one by one. Kind of gross. Finally, camera follows one hand down as she deposits the teeth into a huge drawer. The Friday drawer, containing an incredible collection of kids' effluia, yo-yos, rubber noses, pea shooters, slingshots, plastic lens eyeglasses with false nose attached, fake mustaches, plastic water pistols shaped like Lugers, jawbreakers, both used and unused, also gross, string, a scout knife, a small hard black rubber ball, cards with pictures of baseball players, 3 or 4 small wax bottles filled with verminous green liquid, bottle caps atop, 5 or 6 lurid comic books, and other treasures of kidhood. Close up, Miss Shields. She is calm, impassive.
All right, class, open your readers to page 32. As you remember, Silas Marner was
Camera pulls back to reveal class heads bent with exaggerated studiousness, opening their readers. Exterior school grounds, long shot the kids' day. Recess. In the drifted, dirty snow, kids stand in little clots. The skies are darker than in the earlier scenes. We sense a blizzard is on the way. The steady banging of a lanyard in the flagpole in the cold north wind provides a sinister ringing tempo to the scene. Camera pans down to the pole to pick up the kids. The conversation from the morning continues.
All right, I dare you again.
Oh, yeah.
I double dare you.
Oh, yeah.
I double dog dare you.
And there it is, an audible gasp from the other kids.
Now it was serious, a double dog dare. What else was left but a triple dare you? And finally, the coup de grace of all dares, the sinister triple dog dare. Schwartz created a slight breach of etiquette by skipping the triple dare and going right for the throat.
I triple dog dare you.
Bum, bum, bum. Flick flinches. Cut to each of the kids in turn. They watch the great showdown.
Flick's spine stiffened. His lips curled in a defiant sneer. There was no going back now.
Close up, the pole. Close up, Schwartz, triumphant. Close up, Ralphie, wonderment. Close up, Flick. He stands a few inches from the pole, staring it down. He turns and gives the guys one last bravado look. Close up, Schwartz. He smirks, but a little less confident. Close up, Flick.
Ah, this is dumb.
He laughs. A bravado little laugh turns and with utter disdain thrusts his tongue to full extension and plunges it forward towards the flagpole. It sticks. Freezes solid as a popsicle. Flick mumbles in panic and tries to pull free. He doesn't try this for long. It smarts. Close up, Schwartz. He smirks, turns to astonishment.
Jeez, it really.
Ralphie stands there, open mouthed. Close up, the other kids, they stare dumbfounded. Flick grunts an incolligible cry for help.
Oh.
Schwartz and Ralphie, now vaguely aware of impending official doom, back off. Suddenly, the bell rings. Ralphie and Schwartz look at the school and then back to Flick. The bell rings like a shriek out of hell. That's it. Ralphie and Schwartz are off like a shot.
In Indiana, when the school bell rang, you went. Neither sleet nor snow nor frozen tongue stayed your headlong flight to your desk. Flick's predicament was no exception.
And as the wind rises and the lanyard bangs with a steady drumming beat, the playground is emptied except for the tiny, huddled figure frozen to the flagpole. Into your classroom close up, Ralphie and Schwartz stay. Slide into their desks and play dumb. Over their shoulders, away across the schoolyard, we see the hapless Flick. Ralphie and Schwartz collectively wince. We now have an empty seat halfway in the back row. Miss Shields' radar begins to warm up. She knows something is wrong.
Where is Flick?
Conspicuous silence.
Did anyone see Flick at recess?
Conspiratorial silence.
Well,
Finally, one little girl beckons to Miss Shields.
yes, Esther Jane.
The little girl points hurriedly to the playground.
What was that?
The little girl points again. Miss Shields looks out at the playground. We see the figure. She walks to the window, looking closer.
Oh my God.
At this point, 22 children stampede towards the window, gawking out. Only two innocents remain uninterested, Ralphie and Schwartz, sitting unconcernedly, looking nonchalantly up at the ceiling. You could never tell they were involved. Miss Shields flies to the room. Cut to interior, exterior, schoolroom, and yard, long shot day, looking past the kids out to the playground. Ambulances and 2 fire engines are just removing Flick from the pole. We hear the steady keening of sirens. Ralphie and Schwartz turn and look at one another with doom on their faces. Cut to interior classroom, close up Flick day, with bandaged tongue being led back into the classroom. He doesn't say a word, looking straight ahead as he moves to a seat and sits down. But Miss Shields looks directly at Ralphie and Schwartz. Has Flick squealed?
I know some of you put Flick up to this, but Flick refuses to say who. But those who did it know their blame, and I know the guilt you feel at causing this pain will be worse than any punishment you might receive.
Ralphie and Schwartz give each other a look which says everything.
Adults love to say things like that, but kids know better. We knew darn well it was always better not to get caught.
Camera moves into a close-up of Flick and his wounded tongue. Schwartz and Ralphie stared stonily at Miss Shields, betraying absolutely no emotion. There is not a hint of their guilt.
Not only did you suggest this awful thing, but even worse, you left him there all alone in the cold. Now, don't you feel terrible? Don't you feel remorse for what you've done?
She pauses dramatically and subjects the entire room with her X-ray eye.
Now, that is all I'm going to say about poor little Flick. Open your notebooks, boys and girls. I'm going to give you an assignment.
A low, sullen mumble rolls through the classroom.
I want you all to write a theme.
A theme, a rotten theme before Christmas. There must be kids somewhere who love writing themes, but to a normal air-breathing human kid, writing themes is a torture that ranks only with the dreaded medieval chin-breaker of inquisitional fame, a theme.
Entitled, What I Want for Christmas.
The clouds lifted. I saw a faint gleam of light at the other end of the black cave of gloom. Here was a theme on a subject that needed talking about if everyone did. Already a masterpiece was unfolding in my mind.
I want you to be particularly careful about margins. You will hand in your themes tomorrow, and I don't want to hear any excuses. Now open your spelling books to page 21.
Dissolve 2, exterior, another alley day. Ralphie and Schwartz and the wounded warrior Flick huddle together for warmth amid the gray, craggy snow banks. In the howling gale, the telephone wires whistle like banshees.
Boy, did you see how it stuck?
Did it hurt, Flick?
No, I never felt a thing. It just caught me off guard.
Boy, you sure were bawling.
I never bawled.
Ah, baloney.
Wait!
Ralphie senses something. He stops and looks in the direction of the fence.
Run, it's still.
But it's too late. A face appears suddenly in the gap between the two boards. It's a malevolent face. It is the face of a meanness personified. It is the dreaded Grover Dill. The music shudders appropriately.
Grover Dill. What a rotten name. We were trapped. There he stood between us and the alley. Grover Dill staring at us with his yellow eyes. He had yellow eyes. So help me God, yellow eyes. His cap slunk low over his non-existent brow, resting on his ears, which flared out like toadstools. His lips curled over his green teeth in a semblance of speech.
Hey, fat mess.
I turned in a blind primal panic and started for the fence at the end of the alley. No hope. There, curling up like a venomous Cheshire cat, was Dill's fierce little toady, Scut Farkas. We had had it. The lines were clearly drawn. You were either a bully, a toady, or one of the nameless rabble of victims who hid behind hedges, continually ran up alleys and ducked under porches. For some reason, Dill looked past me to Schwartz.
Hey, you, come here.
Me?
Nah, your Aunt Tilly. Yeah, you, get over here.
Obediently, hopelessly, much in the manner of a hypnotized bird approaching a snake, Schwartz goes to Dill. Dill methodically takes Schwartz's arm and twists it.
Oh, jeez, you cut it out!
Say, uncle.
Oh, go! Oh, go! Oh, go!
Cry, baby, cry.
Dill was a running nose type of bully. His nose was always running, even when it wasn't. I did not know one kid who was not afraid of Dill, because Dill was truly aggressive. This kind of aggression later in life is often called talent or drive, but to the great formless herd of kids, it just meant a lot of running, getting belted, and continually being ashamed.
Dill finally has his twisted Schwartz down to his knees. He gives a shove and Schwartz sprawls in the alley.
All right, who's next?
He laughs malevolently and then takes a mock Frankenstein lunge at them.
Ah!
The boys bolt like jackrabbits. Dill lets them go. Scut Farkas oozing down the fence and joins Dill. They laugh after the fleeing victims.
You better run, you jerks.
Medium shot, Ralph running, Dill in the background.
I was an accomplished alley runner who did not wear sneakers to school from choice, but to get off the mark quicker. I was well qualified to endorse Keds champion sneakers. With I have outrun some of the biggest bullies of my time wearing Keds, and I'm still here to tell the tale. It would make a great ad in boys' life. Many of us have grown up wearing mental Keds and still ducking behind filing cabinets, water coolers, and inconvenienced men's rooms when that cold sweat trickles down between the shoulder blades. My moment of truth was Grover Dill, but for now I breathed easier.
Interior, Ralph's house day. Ralphie heads up the stairs.
Yes?
Would you like a glass of milk?
No, I gotta do my homework.
Ralph, stop right there.
She moves up the stairs and places her hand on Ralph's brow. No fever. She looks at him in puzzlement.
I gotta do my homework.
He dashes up the stairs. Camera holds on Mother.
No. No, I'm sorry. No good will come of this.
Interior Ralph's room day. Ralph races to his desk, scattering the books and papers. He sits down, takes out pen, and begins writing swiftly and frantically in his Indian head notebook. We look over his shoulder as he writes.
Rarely had the words poured from my penny pencil with such feverish fluidity. I remember to this day its glorious winged phrases and concise imagery.
What I want for Christmas is a Red Ryder BB gun with a compass in the stock and this thing that tells time. I think everybody should have a Red Ryder BB gun. They are very good for Christmas. I don't think a football is a very good Christmas present.
I was very careful about margins. I knew that when Miss Shields read my magnificent, eloquent theme, that she would sympathize with my plight and make an appeal on my behalf to the powers that be, that everything would work out somehow.
Ralph completes his work, reads over his magnum opus. As he reads, we hear swelling in the background the magnificent melodic lines of Mozart and Dante, Elvira Madigan music. Finally, Ralph, with a sign of satisfaction, slaps his notebook closed. He leans back in his chair. His fantasy sweeps over him again. Camera moves into his face. Again, we see Ralph's thoughts projected. Exterior house day. Miss Shields is coming up to the front walk, but this is a different Miss Shields than the rather nondescript and mousy teacher. She now strides up the front walk with great presence, dignity, and authority. She rings the bell. Door is opened by Mother, who draws back in surprise.
Mrs. Parker, I am not here on a social call. I am here as part of my duties as a teacher.
Interior house day. Mother ushers Miss Shields into the house, listens respectfully as Miss Shields, now seated on the sofa, speaks.
I understand you have expressed doubts about Ralph, your extraordinary son, as to whether or not he should be the owner of a Red Ryder BB gun. He has convinced me beyond a doubt through his magnificent and eloquent theme that it is absolutely necessary that Ralph be given a Red Ryder BB gun for the protection of you and your family. Ordinarily, I would not make such a recommendation, but in the case of Ralph, I feel certain that he will use his Red Ryder BB gun with customary skill and responsibility. If you have any questions about what I have just said, please write them in a theme of 100 words or less for Ralph to deliver to me at school. I will grade it and return it by next Friday.
Oh, thank you, Miss Shields. We will follow your instructions to the letter. We are so fortunate in having Ralph as our son.
I'm certainly glad that you realize how lucky you are. Ralph is a magnificent boy and he needs a Red Ryder BB gun, especially now that the wild bears have been reported in the vicinity of Pulaski's candy store.
Mother thanks Miss Shields fervently. Father in the background nods in solemn approval and agreement that they are indeed fortunate to be the parents of the truly great human being, Ralph. Dissolved too, Ralphie is lost in his reverie. He smiles vacantly as he gets up and wanders aimlessly across the room and flops down on his bed amid a pile of comic books. He stares at the ceiling.
Captain Ahab and his crazy thing about that white whale had nothing on me. I wanted that BB gun so bad it was making my stomach hurt.
Ralph groans.
Uh,
He flops over on his stomach and flings one of the comic books at the wall next to him. He stares at it blankly. Its lurid cover reads, Further Adventures of Flash Gordon on the Planet Mongo. The cover shows a scene of Flash Gordon, his golden hair gleaming, facing his evil arch enemy, Ming the Merciless. Ralph stares at the cover blankly for a few moments. Exterior Planet Mongo. The scene dissolves as we are in what appears to be the futuristic, dank atmosphere of the alien planet. Ming the Merciless fills the screen. He appears to be 18 feet tall, dressed in a jade green robes with a sinister gold Kabbalistic symbols flashing in all the unnatural light, his eyes glittering with evil, his Fu Manchu mustache adding to the horror, his yellow parchment skin ageless.
Alas, Flash Gordon, I have you at my mercy.
He cackles with fiendish laughter. Camera pulls back, and we see Flash tied with huge ropes hand and foot to the strangely sinister tree trunk that appears to have snake skin instead of bark. Ming snaps his golden bullwhip in the air viciously. Behind him, we see the woven basket of curiously futuristic balloon. The balloon has sulphurous lidded cat's eyes painted on it.
There is no hope for you, Flash Gordon. I will now proceed to destroy the planet Earth from my turbo xenon space balloon with its deadly Z gamma rays.
Ming, we Earthlings will live forever. You.
Ming snaps his whip imperiously.
In moments, that cobra tree will awaken and devour you.
There's a quick cut, and we see the dank jungle undergrowth. Ralph's eyes peering out at this awful pageant. His eyes are wide with wonder, yet there is an air of grim determination about him.
If my faithful companion Ralph were here.
His voice is cut off by the high, screaming laughter of Ming.
Ha ha! Enough, stupid Earthling. It is time now to destroy your foolish planet.
He leaps up onto the balloon, which begins to rise, his laughter echoing maniacally and filling the soundtrack. Ralph leaps to his feet and lurches out of the undergrowth. He's carrying his Red Ryder range model BB gun. The balloon has ascended high overhead.
Ralph, you're alive. You escaped the space crocodiles.
yes, Flash. Now it's time to act.
Oh no, not the space crocodiles. Ralph stands heroically and raises his BB gun. It glows magically. He sights along the barrel. In the distance, we see Ming's evil balloon high in the yellow sky of the planet Mongo. The maniacal cacklings of Ming are heard as he shrieks.
Ha ha ha! Death to Earth! Death to Earth!
Ralph pulls the trigger of his Red Ryder BB gun.
Take that, Ming the Merciless.
The projectile streaks upward. We hear Ming's screaming shriek.
Ah! No!
His balloon makes an obscene farting noise, careening off crazily, growing smaller and smaller by the instant.
It's the end of Ming the Merciless. You have done it, Ralph. You have saved all Earthlings. You have saved our planet.
It was nothing, Flash. After all, I had my trusty Red Ryder range model BB gun, and nothing can stand up to this, baby.
Ralphie, all Earthlings will be forever in your debt.
I know. Here, I'll
You know, Ralph, sometimes I like to meet that Red Rider. He and I are the same business, fighting evil everywhere and standing for truth and justice.
Ralphie. In reality, he smiles in triumph. Suddenly, Ralphie hears a voluminous racket. He runs to the window and looks out, and we see, exterior house dusk. The old man is driving the olds up the driveway. He is pursued by at least a dozen flop-eared hound dogs, barking, yipping, howling, and leaping.
The Taylors, a quiet family who have lived next door to us for years, had moved out, and without warning, the Bumpuses had flooded in. In an instant, the entire neighborhood changed. There were thousands of Bumpuses, and they all moved in. Overnight, what had been a nondescript bungalow became a battered, hinge-sprung, sagging hillbilly shack.
Ralphie's point of view long shot the Bumpus house. The house is surrounded by a thick swamp of junk, old truck tires, rusty pitchforks, busted chicken crates, and an old bathtub. At least 57 ancient bed springs, 8 or 9 horse collars, chicken wire, bowling wire, barbed wire, corn cobs, and an iron board, and a lot of big, tall water boilers with pipes sticking out. The old man is trying to get out of the car.
And then there were the dogs. They had at least 745 dogs. Now our neighborhood had always had dogs walking around, ordinary dogs with names like Zero or Prince. The Bumpus hounds, on the other hand, were just a great churning mass of tails and tongues and flea-bitten bodies. You could almost see the smell, and they loved my father. They ignored every other human being on earth but my old man. Every time he set foot outside, the whole tidal wave of heaving flanks and bloodshot eyes would descend on him. The trouble was that half of them were trying to lick his face, and the other half were trying to take off his leg.
The old man is fighting for his life and screaming at the top of his lungs. We can't quite make out what he's saying, but it sounds like,
I won, I won.
he's kicking the dogs and backing up, holding something aloft. Interior house night, Ralphie turns and dashes downstairs.
The Depression days were the golden age of the newspaper contest, and the old man was a giant jackpot puzzle contest junkie. There was an endless parade of name the presidents, mystery movie stars, famous figures in history, and how many mistakes are in this picture, all offering $50,000 giant jackpots. For the cost of a 2-cent newspaper, countless millions struggled nightly to hit the jackpot. Every evening, the Chicago American was spread out on the dining room table. Paste pot handy, scissors and ruler, pen and ink at the ready. The old man clipped and glued, struggled and guessed, and now the payoff had come.
Ralphie arrives downstairs as the old man lunges through the front door, closing it in the ears of one of the most insistent of the snarling pack. The dog howls in the background as old man leaps about the living room, waving a telegram over his head.
I won, I won, I won.
What is it?
A major prize, a major prize. I won, look.
He hands Mother the telegram. The kids crowd around. We see the telegram. It reads, I guess I read this part. Insert telegram. Congratulations. You have won a major award in our $50,000 Great Heroes from the World of Sports contest. It will arrive by special messenger delivered to your address. You are a winner. Congratulations. Back to scene. The old man is now dancing a jig around the room. The kids are whooping. The dog, whose ears are in the door, is howling.
Tonight, it's coming tonight. Hot damn tonight.
What do you mean?
Tonight, it's coming tonight. I called Ernie McCloskey down at the Fright office. It's there. He's gonna send it out tonight. The telegram was late. The prize is already there.
The old man continues his jig.
Tonight.
He dances over to the door and releases the poor dog's ear. He sticks his leg out the front door and holds it there comically.
Tonight. Take a bite, boys. Take a bite. It's all on me. I don't care. Go ahead.
We hear a dog yelp. The old man pulls his leg in quickly and slams the door. He claps his hands together, suddenly serious.
I'll probably be one of them Spanish adobe house in Coral Gables, Florida. That's one of their big items. Or it could be a bowling alley. Guy down in Terre Haute want a bowling alley.
But how could they deliver a bowling alley tonight?
The old man is stumped for a minute.
Well, they could deliver it there for Christ's sake. I mean, I think they were going to deliver the damn bowling alley.
He laughs. Nothing is going to spoil his expansiveness.
Well, it'll be a while. Let's eat. I'm starving. Get rich is hard work.
Camera dwells on Ralphie and Randy's awestruck faces. Interior kitchen night. Ralph and Randy sit at the table. Mother scurries from stove to table, back to stove. Father reads in the Chicago Tribune sports page. Randy sits with his feet twined around the legs of his chair, poking listlessly at his food. He begins to plow the surface of his mashed potatoes with a fork. The old man glances at his watch impatiently from time to time.
I'm invisible. Randy, eat your food. Don't play with it.
Oh, gee. Aw.
Every family has a kid who won't eat. In our case, it was my brother.
Starving people would be glad to have that. Now you eat.
Aw.
Randy begins to shape mashed potatoes into a configuration of a football.
Do what your mother tells you. Pass her cap, Trump.
Aw.
I'm gonna give you something to cry about in 1 minute if you don't quit playing with your food. Now you stop fooling around and eat that, or you're gonna be sorry.
Mother serves father red cabbage and moves a pan to the stove, returning to take her seat.
Here's the red cabbage or cabbage. I didn't get any. I'm young.
Fudge.
Patiently, mother raises and goes to the stove.
You could see that my mother had not had a hot meal in about 15 years.
Meatloaf, meatloaf, double meatloaf.
Randy fidgets, stirs milk with finger, pushes food from one side of the plate to the other, now arranging red cabbage in an artistic circle around the cold, congealing slice of meatloaf.
Knock it off. Eat.
Every meal went the same way. Once in a while, my father would blow his stack. Damn it, he'd yell, I'll make the damn kid eat. Where's my screwdriver? Where's the plumber's helper? He'd just pry his mouth open and stuff it in.
Mother eats hurriedly, pausing to wipe up Randy's spilled milk with her paper napkin.
My mother, though, was more subtle.
Mother looks at Randy. Her face lights up with an idea.
Randy, how did the little piggies go?
Oink.
My brother was deep in his Three Little Pigs bag. He had a little golden book, and it was his favorite heavy reading material.
That's right. Oink, oink. Nice little piggies. Now, how do the piggies eat? There's your trough. Now show me how the piggies eat.
Randy waits for more coaxing.
Be a good boy. Show us how the piggies eat.
Suddenly, Randy bends forward, shoves his face into the plate, and begins to gobble food frantically, oinking all the while. Mother smiles as plate is emptied.
Jesus.
Oink, 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 oink.
His tone is one of total disgust.
Nice piggy. Good little piggy.
Scene ends with Randy smiling and oinking over his clean plate, his face looking like a half-finished Mount Rushmore. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. The family freezes after a long pause, the old man in a hushed whisper.
It's here.
They sit, unable to move. The bell rings incessantly.
What was here? $50,000? Fame? A trip to the moon? The end of the rainbow?
As one, they all dash to the front door. Interior, exterior, the house night. The door is flung open. A man stands in the doorway looking down at a bill of lading.
Frank Parker,
Yeah?
sign here.
The old man grabs the pad and scribbles frantically.
Okay, haul it in.
The family stands open-mouthed as two burly movers carry in a waist-high cardboard carton. Not a word is said as mother directs them to the kitchen where the box is deposited gently on the kitchen floor. As the men depart, an air of foreboding surrounds the mysterious object. Then the old man dives in.
The old man, his face flushed with excitement, fumbled in supercharged haste to lay bare his hard-won symbol of victory.
The billowing mushroom cloud of Excelsior explodes into the air. The old man literally plunges into the carton, disappearing for a long moment. He emerges holding aloft the prize.
Before us in the heavy, fragrant, cabbage-scented kitchen stood a life-size lady's leg, in true blushing pink flesh tones and wearing a modish black patent leather pump with spiked heel. When I say life size, I'm referring to a rather large lady who obviously had dined well and matured nicely. For instance, we thought that we had received in the mail the work of an artist of the type that was very active at that period, the trunk murderer. We stood silent and in awe at the sheer, shimmering, unexpected beauty of the major reward.
Mother is first to recover.
What is it?
A leg?
There is a long pause.
But what is it?
Well, it's a leg, like a statue.
A statue?
Our family had never owned a statue. A statue was always considered to be a lady wearing a wreath and concrete robes, holding a torch in one hand and a book in the other.
Yeah, a statue.
Hey, a statue! We want a statue!
My mother was trying to insinuate herself between us and the statue.
Isn't it time for bed?
Suddenly, the old man stands up like he's received an electric shock.
Holy smokes!
They all fall silent.
Do you know what that is?
Silence.
Holy smokes! You look at that. I don't believe it.
What?
It's a lamp.
It was indeed a lamp, a masterstroke of Lightolier's art. It was without question the most magnificent lamp that we'd ever seen.
Aha, here's the shade.
In an instant, the old man has screwed it on top of the fulsome thigh, and there it stands, a full 4 feet high.
My God, ain't that great?
The old man's eyes boggled behind his Harold Lloyd glasses. He was almost overcome by art.
Oh, what a great lamp.
Oh, I don't know.
What a great lamp. Wow, this is exactly what we need for the front window.
He sweeps up the plastic trophy and rushes into the living room.
Get the extension cord from the toaster.
We see the old man plunge into a jungle of extension cords and 4-way plugs, wires heading in every direction. Ralphie rushes in with the extension cord, the old man disappearing behind the couch. Much heavy breathing and cursing emerges.
The snap of a few sparks, a quick whiff of ozone, and the lamp blazed forth in unparalleled glory. From ankle to thigh, the translucent flesh radiated a vibrant, sensual, luminous, orange/pinkish nimbus of pagan fire. All it needed was tom-toms and maybe a bone or two.
The old man backs away in admiration. The leg lamp is ridiculous, but the old man is in his glory.
Hey, wait. I want to see it from the outside.
Interior, exterior, the house and street night. The old man rushes out into the darkness across the porch. The Bumpus dogs are startled and caught off guard. We look out the window over Ralphie's shoulder. A crowd is gathered around the old man.
Move it a little to the left.
Mother reluctantly complies.
Okay.
Exterior house night. The old man moves further across the road. He pretends to be a casual observer walking down the street. Exterior, interior house night. Mother and the kids stare out.
That's got it. You ought to see it from out here.
The entire neighborhood was turned on. It could be seen up and down Cleveland Street, the symbol of the old man's victory. My mother was truly on the horns of a dilemma.
I got lost in the script.
56.
Well, look at the time. It's nearly time for somebody's favorite program.
She was right. Only one thing in the world could have dragged us away from the soft glow of electric sex gleaming in the window. Somebody looks after mothers.
Ralph and Randy race across the radio and snap it on. It hums to life. In the background, we see the old man re-enter the house.
Every day at 6:45 when I was a kid, I'd drop anything I was doing, no matter what it was, and tear like a blue streak through the alleys, over fences, under porches, to get home to our Crosley Notre Dame Cathedral model radio.
Who's that little chatterbox? The one with curly auburn locks? Who do I see? It's Little Orphan Annie.
They don't write tunes like that anymore. There was one particularly brilliant line that dealt with Sandy, Little Orphan Annie's Airedale sidekick. Who can forget it?
Arf, go Sandy.
Little Orphan Annie lived in this great place called Tompkins Corners. There were people called Joe Corntassel and Uncle.
In the background, we see Mother casually rise, walking over the window and draw the blinds and snap off the leg lamp. Father pretends not to notice. Close up, Ralph, as he sits enraptured before the radio.
She also had this friend called Punjab, who whenever she was really in a tight spot would just show up and cut everybody's head off. I figured that if there was anything a kid of 9 needed, it was somebody named Punjab, especially in our neighborhood. He wore a towel around his head.
Close up, ornate front of radio.
Immediately after the nightly adventure, which usually took place near the headwaters of the dreaded Orinoco, on would come a guy named Pierre Andre, the definitive radio announcer.
Fellas and gals, get set for a meeting of the Little Orphan Annie Secret Circle.
In the background, we see the old man, his casualness matching Mother's. He draws open the drapes and stands pretending to stare out at the street.
Looks like snow. Dark in here.
He snaps on the lamp. Mother pretends to be unconcerned.
Okay, kids, time to get out your secret decoder pin. Time for another secret message direct from Little Orphan Annie to members of the Little Orphan Annie Secret Circle.
Ralph slumps.
I got no decoder pin. A member of an outgroup at the age of 9, and the worst kind of an outgroup. I lived in a non-Ovaltine drinking neighborhood.
Oh boy. All right, set your pins to B7, 22, 19, 8, 49, 13, 3, 22, 1, 4, 19.
Pierre Andre could get more out of just numbers than Orson Welles was able to squeeze out of King Lear.
We see Mother rise and amble towards the window. She stops to pick up a new magazine.
Jesus, Ralphie, you're right about that snow, I think. For her, it's chilly. I feel a draft.
She snaps the drapes closed. The old man feigns indifference.
The stage was set. This slowly evolving ballet of the lamp was to continue for days, gathering momentum night after night. But for the moment, I was oblivious to all but Orphan Annie.
14, 9, 32. Okay, fellas and gals, over and out.
Ralph shows disinterest. The show is over. Ralph also looks vaguely troubled.
Then silence. The show was over. And you had a sinister feeling that out there in the darkness, all over the country, there were millions of kids decoding. Somewhere kids were getting the real truth from Orphan Annie, the message, and I had no pin yet. 3 weeks ago, I had corralled the necessary Ovaltine 10 and mailed away for my decoder pin. Day after day, eon after eon, I waited, waiting for 3 weeks for something to come in the mail to a kid. It's like being asked to build the pyramid single-handed, using the number 3 erector set, the one without the motor. Anyway, I was skunked for another day.
We fade out on the scene as the old man makes yet another move on the drapes. Fade in, interior classroom day, Ralph Schwartz, Flick, Miss Shields, extras. Children file past Miss Shields' desk. Each carefully places their theme paper on it. Ralph adds his to the pile with a little flourish of implied victory.
I had done it. There could be no doubt that this theme would absolutely overwhelm Miss Shields. Not only was the Red Ryder 200-shot carbine air rifle irrevocably mine, but I began to envisage that Miss Shields, in her ecstasy, would excuse me from theme writing for the rest of my school days, or at least until high school. Such was the clarity and power of my prose that it seemed ridiculous to ask me to demonstrate it further.
Camera moves slowly into Ralphie's face as he begins to fantasize. Interior school, Miss Shields in Ralph's fantasy day. We see Miss Shields grading papers grumpily. She throws one down in disgust and scribbles a large F on it. She picks up another and gives it the same treatment, and another and yet another. She puts her hand to her forehead in despair for a moment, then she plunges in again. She begins reading Ralphie's theme. Her face brightens. Her mouth flies open. She reads on. She utters an exclamation of joy and clasps the theme into her bosom, silent movie style. She begins reading again, barely able to contain herself with every sentence. She explains in ecstasy. Finally, she can contain herself no more. She leaps to her feet, throwing the theme into the air and races to the blackboard. She writes Ralphie's name on the board in huge letters and follows this with Ralphie, A plus 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 plus. I don't know if I did enough pluses. A huge A. Then she begins writing pluses after the A. She writes pluses until she runs out of board, then continues writing them off and board around the walls. Camera pans off Miss Shields to Ralphie, where we see him stand modestly, acknowledging the thunderous ovation of his adoring classmates. We hold on this for a long moment, then dissolve back to Ralphie and reality.
Did you want something, Ralphie? Ralph?
What? Oh, no, not now. Just turn in my theme.
Ralphie backs out of the room, grinning sheepishly at Miss Shields. Miss Shields look at him quizzically. Exterior steel mill day. We are holding on the steel mill for a long moment. Then suddenly, in the foreground, we see the same figures blur by. It is Ralphie, Flick, and Schwartz. The same frame is emptied for a moment until Grover Dill and Scut Farkas race past in a hot pursuit. Another empty moment. Then Randy comes waddling by, arms still stuck out like a scarecrow.
Such was the stuff of Red Rider mania. I took off to catch up with Schwartz and Flick. Now that my own Christmas booty was assured, I could turn my attention to the family gifts, and that meant, of course, the ever-beckoning treasures of Woolworths.
Interior hallway of house family night. Ralph, Randy, and the old man stand waiting impatiently in the hallway.
If we don't hurry, all the good trees will be gone.
Mother comes racing down the stairs.
I'm coming. Goodness gracious.
She moves to the window and snaps out the leg lamp.
Don't want to waste electricity.
Exterior house night. The old man gives her a look but lets it pass. They all bundle their way out the door and pile into the olds.
It was one of those rare nights in Homan when the air was crisp and clean, and so cold that the Bumpus dogs wouldn't even come out from under the Bumpus garage to chase my old man. And we were off on one of the great adventures of the year, selecting the Christmas tree, and then a ride around town to see the Yuletide splendor.
Exterior Christmas tree lot family Christmas tree man night. Another mother, father, Ralph, and Randy walk around a frozen vacant lot looking at Christmas trees.
Buying the Christmas tree was always after long and soul-searching discussion.
There's a bare spot on the back.
It'll fluff out, lady, when it gets hot.
Oh no.
Is this the kind of needles fall out?
Nah, that's them balsams.
Oh.
Christmas tree is finally chosen. After a great deal of difficulty, it is securely lashed to the back of the car, sticking out of the trunk and tied to the bumper with lengths of grimy knotted rope. Exterior home and street family night. We see the family in the car looking at the decorations. Christmas lights, festoon houses, plastic Santas smile from the top of garages. Plastic wreaths of holly hang from the lampposts surrounding smiling Santa faces. A choir of Christmas carolers accompanies this tableau. We see a nativity group in the front lawn. Joseph and Mary kneel in the straw, adoring the infant, watched by 3 plastic sheep, a plastic cow, and Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, his nose as bright as a light red bulb. 8 more plastic reindeer stand on the roof of the cardboard shed.
Somehow, religion has a tendency to get mixed up with Walt Disney.
Interior car night. The sound like jadunk, jadunk, jadunk is heard. The car lurches.
Damn it!
What is it?
I heard damn flat.
Father pulls over, leaps from the car. The sound of banging tools and steady cursing can be heard from the back of the car.
Actually, my father loved it. He always saw himself in the pits of the Indianapolis Speedway.
Father passes side window, rolling spare tire, Jack under his arm.
Oh, why don't you go help Daddy?
It was the first time it had been suggested I go help my father with anything.
Ralph gets out of the car. Camera dollies in. The car is up on the shoulder, and every time a tractor trailer booms past, a spray of icy slush slops over. The old man, as he struggles with the jack. On the other side of the car, away from the road, is a deep, weedy ravine, weeds topped poking out of the drifted snow. In the dark and slushy night, the old man struggles with his worn and patched spare tire.
My old man's spare tires were actually only tires in the academic sense. They were round, they had once been made of rubber, but by the time they were in the dark bullpen of the car's trunk to be used as spares, there was so little tread on them that the old man used to say you could read the want ads of the Tribune right through them.
The old man busily fits Fitzjack jacks up the car, begins to remove the wheel bolts with wrench. Ralph watches.
What the hell are you doing?
Mom said I should help.
Oh, yeah? Listen, hold this hubcap. I'm gonna put the bolts in it. For Christ's sakes, don't move it.
The old man struggles with the tire. Ralph stands next to him holding the hubcap. Cars whiz by, throwing slush from under their tires. A giant semi rolls past, throwing up such a plume of slush and icy filth water that Ralph flinches.
Stand still, damn it. Okay, now give me the bolts.
The old man reaches up and accidentally hits the hubcap with his hand. The picture slows down into slow motion.
For one brief moment, I saw the bolts silhouetted against the lights of the traffic, and then they were gone into the snowbank, under the car, down the ravine into the abyss.
Close up Ralph in the slow motion. Camera zooms in on Ralphie's face just as he's about to make an exclamation. Camera zooms past his mouth just as he is forming the word. Just at that moment, the truck roars by and drowns out the sound. We do not hear the word or see it spoken, but it is evident that Ralph has said the word.
Oh, fudge.
It was the word. I don't know why I said it. It just came out.
Close up father. His face is frozen in astonishment. There's a long pause.
What did you say? That's what I thought you said.
A long pause. Both figures are caught in the glare of the oncoming traffic.
Here, hold the flashlight.
He crawls around in the snow looking for the lost bolts, muttering constantly. After an enormous struggle, he manages to retrieve 3 of them and replaces the bolts, puts on the hubcap, returns the jack to the trunk after a brief tussle with the lashed down Christmas tree. Ralph watches dumbly.
Okay, get in the car.
Interior car night. Father, mother, Ralph, Randy.
Do you know what your son just said?
Mother looked puzzled. Randy in the back seat perked up and leaned forward attentively. He knew I was suddenly in trouble, and he loved it. If he had a tail, it would have been wagging.
Your son said,
Whispers. Mother sits bolt upright in shock.
Oh!
She turns to glare at Ralph. Randy snickers. They ride home silently. Ralph with the air of someone being taken to the gallows. Interior house bathroom night. Mother and Ralph. Ralph is sitting on the closed lid of the toilet. Mother stands over him menacingly.
Now, I want you to tell me where you heard that word. The truth now. Where did you hear that word?
Mother sticks bar of soap in Ralph's mouth.
Now, you're not going to take that out until you're ready to tell me where you heard that word.
After a while, I got to be quite a connoisseur of soap. My personal preference is for Lux, but I found Palmolive had a nice piquant after-dinner flavor, heady, but with just a touch of mellow smoothness.
Ugh. Ralph sits on the toilet, bar of soap in mouth. Mother stands over him impassively.
Life Buoy, on the other hand.
Are you ready to tell me?
Ralph nods yes. Mother removes soap.
All right. Now, where did you hear that word?
Now, I had heard that word at least 10 times a day from my old man. My father worked in profanity the way other artists might work in oils or clay, the way Michelangelo worked in marble. It was his true medium, and he was a master at it.
I'm waiting.
But I chickened out. I groped desperately and blurted out the first name that came to mind.
Schwartz.
Oh, I see.
His mother puts the bar of soap back in Ralph's mouth. With an air of grim determination, she turns on her heel and goes to the phone. She dials pauses.
Move. Hello, Mrs. Schwartz? Yes, fine. How are you? Mrs. Schwartz, do you know what Ralph just said?
Pause. You hear jibble gabble, jibble jibble of Miss Schwartz reply, but cannot hear the words.
Well, no, he said.
She puts her hand over the mouthpiece and whispers.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that. And do you know where he heard it? His father. From your son. What?
Is that a chicken? Mother stands holding the phone. We hear a quick tap, tap, tap of Miss Schwartz' heel retreating. Suddenly, very faintly, there is a scream.
Retribution had come to Schwartz. Another shot of mysterious, inexorable official justice. Justice, injustice, it's immaterial. We're all guilty in one way or another, and Schwartz was no exception.
It's definitely a chicken. Mother hangs up the phone, returns to the bathroom, removes the soap from Ralph's mouth.
All right, now go to bed. I'm glad you finished your homework this afternoon because I want you to put the light off and get right to bed. You're being punished. I'm going to come up and I don't want to see that light on.
Ralph goes slowly up the stairs. Interior bedroom, Ralph night. Ralph lies forlornly on his bed. In the upper left-hand corner of the screen above his head, we see a projection of what he's thinking. Exterior front walk day. Scene widens until walk fills hold frame. Close-up of white cane tip-tapping up front steps. Cane taps on door. Huge tall door opens. Exterior interior house day. Ralphie's point of view. Mother stands in doorway looking down at the pathetic little figure before her. Father stands behind her.
Oh my God, Ralphie. Oh my God, what's happened to you?
Come on in, Ralph. Where have you been?
Why, he was carrying a cane. What happened to you, Ralph?
Little Ralph, saying nothing, bravely taps his way into the house. Close up, Randy, looking horrified, peering out from under the dining room table. Mother leads Ralph to the kitchen table. Ralph sits bravely at the table.
Ralph, is it something we did?
Ralph bravely smiles, shaking his head no. A tear runs down from his dark glasses.
Please, Ralph. We know it's our fault. What would we do? What is it? What has brought you to this lonely state?
Ralph is silent.
Oh, please, Ralph, please tell us no matter how it hurts. What is it? What did we do?
Ralph turns his head, fighting back the pain.
No, please, please. I must know what we did. What brought this on?
It was.
Yes.
It was
Yes, yes.
soap poisoning.
Mother sinks down beside father. They cling together.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Can I have told you?
Ralph puts his hand on his father's sob-wracking shoulders. Randy clings lovingly to Ralph's ankle.
I'll get along somehow. I deserve it.
You're so brave, Ralph.
There has never been a kid who didn't believe, vaguely but insistently, that he would be stricken blind before he reached 21, and then they'd be sorry.
Ralph's face, larger and larger, moves into frame. His poor, blank, blind eyes stare into the camera. One tear rolls down his cheek. Focus on large tear. Dissolve to montage. Exterior alleyway, long shot, looking through some fence slats day. We see Ralphie, Flick, and the others fly past. The shots remain empty for a moment when we see Dill and Farkas fly past. Exterior school day. Snow and wind howls. Interior school day. It is Friday. The children are filing into class. Every third or fourth child pauses to give Miss Shields a little gift, as is the custom. We see the booty piling up, mostly apples, a few cupcakes, some cookies, a solitary flower. Suddenly, a pineapple, a very large and particularly tropical looking pineapple, is placed upon the desk. A pineapple in Homan during the Depression is a sight indeed. Ralphie's face eases up through the foliage on top of the pineapple. He grins a grin about as subtle as oil can Harry. Miss Shields looks at him in amazement.
I thought you might be getting tired of them same old stuff.
Why, thank you, Ralph.
Ralph slides away. Exterior alleyway, long shot, same fence as we saw earlier day. Silence when we hear the pounding of feet. Ralphie and the others go thundering past. Silence, then Dill and Farkas come racing by. Hold on the silence a moment. Exterior Ralph's house, long shot day. Ralph comes dashing up to the mailbox and stops to catch his breath, looking behind him.
Grover Dill was just another of the hostile elements of nature, like the wind and the snow and the boogeyman. and as such could be tolerated. But the agony of waiting for the days to pass so I could receive my theme in triumph was unbearable. I was nearing madness.
Ralph straightens up and looks into the mailbox.
But we are given that which we need to survive. Everything comes to he who waits.
Ralph takes a large envelope out of the box.
There are few things more thrilling in life than lumpy letters that rattle. Even to this day, I feel a wild surge of exultation when I run my hands over an envelope that's thick, fat, and pregnant with mystery. I ripped it open and there it was, my simulated gold plastic decoder pin with knob and my membership card.
Camera cuts to the letter. Be it known to all and sundry that Mr. Ralph Weasley Parker is hereby appointed a member of the Little Orphan Annie Secret Circle and is entitled to all of the honors and benefits accruing thereto.
Signed Little Orphan Annie, countersigned Pierre Andre in ink. Honors and benefits already at the age of 9.
Interior house Ralph evening. Ralph races to the radio and whirls the dial frantically.
My excitement mounted. Running waves of goose pimples rippled up and down my spine as I hunched next to the radio. A pause, a station break.
Who's that little chatterbox? The one with curly elbow locks? Who do I see? It's Little Orphan Annie.
Ralph hunches closer to the radio.
Let's get on with it. I don't need all this jazz about smugglers and pirates. I sat through Sandy's arping and Little Orphan Annie's perils, hardly hearing a word. On comes at long last old Pierre. He's one of my friends now. I'm in my first secret meeting.
Okay, fellas and gals, get out your decoder pins. Time for the secret message for all the regular pals of Little Orphan Annie, members of the Little Orphan Annie Secret Circle. All set? Here we go. Set your pins at B12.
We see Ralph frantically setting his pin.
My eyes narrowed to mere slits. My steely claws working with precision. I set my simulated gold plastic decoder pin to B12.
All ready? Pencil set?
Ralph licks point of pencil.
Old Pierre was in great voice tonight. I could tell that tonight's message was really important.
7, 22, 13, 19, 8.
We see Ralph writing like mad, brow furrowed in manic concentration.
I struggled furiously to keep up with his booming voice, dripping with tension and excitement. Finally,
Okay, kids, that's tonight's secret message. Listen again tomorrow night when you hear, who's that little chatterbox, the one with curly open locks?
Interior bathroom, Ralph's evening.
90 seconds later, I'm in the only room in the house where a boy of 9 could sit in privacy and decode. My pen is on one knee, my Indian chief tablet on the other. I'm starting to decode. 7. I spun the dial, poring over the plastic scale of letters. Aha, B. I carefully wrote down my first decoded number. I went to the next, 22. Again, I spun the dial. E. The first word is B-E. 13, S. It was coming easier now. 19, U. From somewhere out in the house, I could hear my kid brother whimpering, his wail gathering steam, then the faint shriek of my mother.
Hurry up! Randy's gotta go!
I'll be right out. Gee.
S, U, 15, R, E. Be sure. A message was coming through. Excitement gripped my gut. I was getting the word, be sure. 14, 8, T, O. Be sure to what? What was Little Orphan Annie trying to say?
Ralph scribbles more frantically, running hand through his hair distractedly.
Ralphie, come on!
All right, Ma. I'll be right out.
17, 9, DR, 16, 12, 1, 9, NK, 32, OVA, 19, LT. I sat for a long moment in that steamy room, staring down at my Indian chief notebook. A crummy commercial.
We hear another thin wail from Randy off stage.
I'll be right out, Ma, for crying out loud.
I pulled up my corduroy pants and went out to face the meatloaf and the red cabbage. Punjab had decapitated another victim.
Randy races past Ralph into the bathroom. Ralph continues on down the kitchen.
The agony crept over me. Again, I hoped dinner would bring relief. Maybe there was a surprise.
Ralph peers into the pot on the stove.
Huh, fat chance. Red cabbage. I didn't even bother to look in the oven where the perpetual meatloaf sizzled. My mother was hanging over her sink, swabbing internally with her Brillo pad. If mothers had a coat of arms in the Midwest, it would consist of cross plumbers' helpers ramped on the field of Brillo pads.
Did you wash up?
Yeah.
What happened next was rather unreal. My mother walked out of the kitchen with her watering can in tow, bound for her nasturtiums. There was a brief moment of silence, then a loud crash from the living room and a phony stifled gasp. Another split second of silence while the fuse sputtered and ignited, and then it began. The old man knew. He'd been fearing it since the very first day.
The bathroom door flings open and the old man stands framed in the doorway, a wild look in his eyes.
What happened? What broke?
The lamp, said my mother in a soft, phony voice, feigning heartbreak.
The old man rushes headlong down the stairs into the living room.
Where is it? Where is it?
There it was, the shattered kneecap under the coffee table, the cracked, well-turned ankle under the radio, that voluptuous poem of feminine pulchritude, split open like a rotten watermelon, its entrails of insulated wire hanging out limply over the rug.
The old man drops to his knees amid the debris.
I don't know what happened. I was watering the flowers and
The old man looks at her for a long moment, then speaks in a measured voice.
You were always jealous of that lamp.
jealous of a plastic leg?
You were jealous because I won.
That's ridiculous. Jealous? Jealous of what? That was the ugliest lamp I've ever seen.
Now it was out, irretrievably.
The old man draws himself up with his full height and glares at her with bristling dignity.
At least 10 years before the phrase was coined, my mother and father began the Cold War.
Get the glue.
We're out of the glue.
The old man stood quivering with fury, stammering as he tried to come up with a crushing retort, managing only,
Not a finger.
He turns and races from the house, nearly taking the door with him. There is silence for a moment, then the door is ripped open and the old man bellows.
Don't touch it. Don't touch that lamp.
He wheels and slams the door. Silence. Dissolved to exterior, interior house night. It is later. We are looking at the house in a long shot. We see the old man silhouetted in the window trying to repair the lamp.
to this day, I can still see my father wearing his straw hat, swearing under his breath, walking around a shattered lady's leg, a Freudian image to make Everett Alby's best effort pale into insignificance.
Interior house night. We see the old man bending intently over the leg.
Time and again, it looked almost successful. Then he would remove his hand slowly. Boing, the kneecap would spring up and sail across the room and the whole thing would collapse.
Exterior, interior house night. We see and hear the lamp come crashing to the floor. The old man disappears out of the window for a long moment. Suddenly, he appears out the front door, makes his way to the side of the house, and dumps the whole mess into the garbage. He marches resolutely back into the house. After a moment, we hear his voice faintly.
I won't forget this. Ever.
The house sits there tranquilly. In the brilliant winter air, we hear the faint strains of "O Little Town of Bethlehem." Dissolved to exterior Ralph's house day. It is a raw, wind-whipped day. Cheery smoke pours out of every chimney except one, which belches out black, acrid puffs. Camera zooms into the smoke. We hear the old man roaring out of his defiance of the villainous furnace. Camera pans down to the house to the front door. We see Ralphie and Randy being hurried out by their anxious mother. Medium shot, Ralphie flick day. We see Ralphie pushed by the bowling ball, which is his brother, Randy. They run down the walk and join Flick. They punch arms and then they head out to school. Exterior school grounds, the boys, Dill day. Ralph and the others move into view. We see Grover Dill lounging about the ice-encrusted jungle gym.
Hey, fat mess, come over here. I want to talk to you.
Ordinarily, if Dill so much as said hi to you, you felt great and warm inside, but mostly he just hit you in the mouth.
I can't, Grover. I got to report to Miss Shields.
The audacity of this ploy stunned everyone, myself most of all. There was no retreating, however. I knew I would pay later.
Ralphie runs for school.
Hey, you,
Dill is furious. He turns to the luckless Flick.
you, get over here.
Felt vaguely guilty for leading Flick and Schwartz to certain annihilation, but BB gun mania knows no loyalties.
Interior classroom close up, Miss Shields' day.
All right, class, I have your Christmas themes for you. I'm pleased they were generally very good.
Flick flies by, his eyes blackened. Close up, Ralphie. He virtually pants with anticipation, ignoring Flick.
I held my breath as the papers came down the row. I imagined Miss Shields was restraining her praise in deference to the ordinary intelligences of my classmates.
Close up, the hands of the kids. Passing the themes back along the rows, camera pans with the hands. Close up, Ralph. He's turning red from holding his breath. Close up, camera pans with the papers down the row. Close up, Ralph. Close up the papers. They arrive at Ralph's desk. He extricates his and passes the other on. Camera pans up to his face as he unfolds his theme. His face drops. Camera pans back down to the paper, and we see the grade C minus pulsating in and out of focus.
My first impulse was that obviously a mistake had been made, but then I saw it. It leaped off the page and around the room and fastened itself leech-like on the back of my neck.
Camera cuts back to the Ralphie's face, then tilts back to the paper and pans down and zooms to the fateful words. They pulsate in red. P.S. You'll shoot your eye out.
My mother had gotten to Miss Shields. There could be no other explanation. Was there no end to this conspiracy of irrational prejudice against Red Ryder and his peacemaker? I gloomily watched other happier kids who were all going to get what they wanted for Christmas. Despair settled over me like a 300-pound lady sitting on my head.
Dissolve to exterior alleyway, long shot, Ralphie Grover kids, mother, extra day. The camera catches the forlorn figure of Ralphie walking dejectedly to his house. We move in on him as he kicks a slab of dirty ice down the sidewalk. Randy tags along behind.
Night falls fast in northern Indiana. Snow was drifting softly through the feeble yellow glow of the distant street lamps, while around me unbridled merriment raged. I had all but abandoned hope, which may partially explain what happened next.
We are close on Ralph's face when suddenly a brackish snowball with the size of a basketball whizzes into frame and smacks Ralph right in the kisser. It nearly knocks him off his feet. He clears the slush from his eyes and chokes back the tears that threaten to well up. He looks off stage. Longshot Grover Dill is seen walking up his cocky manner down the street towards Ralph.
Hey, fat mess. How'd you like your snowball sandwich?
Dill and Scott Farkas laugh their nasty little laughs as they approach Ralph. Medium shot Ralph. Camera moves slowly into Ralph's face.
Somewhere deep in the recesses of my brain, a tiny red-hot little flame began to grow.
Dill has strutted up and stands legs spread in front of Ralph.
Listen, jerk. When I tell you to come over, you better come over.
By this time, my red demon had grown to man-size and came exploding out of my eyes and ears and mouth.
Ralphie explodes all over the startled Dill, knocking him flat on his back and begins pounding him.
Bravery does not exist, just a kind of latent nuttiness. If I had thought about attacking Dill for 10 seconds before I had done it, I'd have been 4 blocks away in a minute flat. But something had happened. A fuse blew, and I had gone out of my skull.
Ralph and Dill began to fight in earnest.
I have since heard of people under extreme duress speaking in strange tongues. I became conscious that a steady torrent of obscenities and swearing was pouring out of me as I screamed.
The swearing will be indistinguishable, lost under narration.
I could hear my brother running home, hysterically yelling for my mother, but only dimly. Dill fought back like a fiend, but I guess it was the first time he had ever met face to face with an unleashed Tasmanian devil.
Long shot, we see Ralph's mother arriving.
I continued to swear fantastically as though I had no control over it. I was conscious of it, and yet it was as though it was coming from something or someone outside of me.
Boys continue to fight insanely. Dill, by this time, is wailing hysterically. This has never happened to him before. They drag the two kids apart amid a great ring of surging grown-ups and excellent scared kids who know more about what is happening than the mothers and fathers ever could. Ralph's mother looks at him for a long moment.
What did you say?
That's all. There was a funny look on her face. At that instant, all thought of Grover Dill disappeared from what was left of my mind, and all I could think of was the incredible shame of that unbelievable tornado of obscenity I had sprayed over the neighborhood.
Dissolve to interior house, Ralphie dusk.
I got into the house in a daze. My mother put water on me in the bathroom, pouring it over my head and dabbing at my eyes, which were puffed and red from hysteria.
You better go in and lie down on the daybed. Take it easy. Okay, just go in and lie down.
Interior bedroom dusk. She takes Ralph by the shoulder and pushes him down on the daybed. He lies there, scared, really scared of what he has done.
The light was getting purple and soft outside, almost time for my father to come home from work. I was just lying there.
Close up, Randy under the sink.
My kid brother by now was under the sink in the john, hiding among the mops, mewing occasionally. I heard the car roar up the driveway and a wave of terror broke over me. I heard him in the kitchen now.
Supper's ready. Come on, kids. Wash up.
I painfully dragged myself off the daybed and sneaked along the woodwork, under the buffet, sneaking, skulking into the bathroom. My kid brother and I washed together over the sink. He said nothing.
Interior kitchen night. Ralph walks into the kitchen and sits down.
Well, what happened today?
Here it comes. There was a short pause, and then my mother said,
Oh, not much. Ralph had a little fight.
Fight? What kind of fight?
Oh, you know how kids are.
the axe is poised over my naked neck. There's no way out.
Oh, it wasn't much. I gave him a talking to. By the way, I see the Bears are playing Green Bay on Sunday.
Mother resumes her endless table to stove to refrigerator to table to stove treadmill.
Oh, yeah. Zodiac has tickets. Boy, I wish I could. Oh, well, your freezer keys are off out there.
Father shovels in more meatloaf.
I slowly began to realize that I was not about to be destroyed.
Mother, leaning over to serve more red cabbage to father, casually leans her arm against Ralph's shoulder and gives him a friendly, understanding little bump. Father does not notice.
From then on, things were different between me and my mother.
Ralph resumes eating, this time as though he were actually tasting the food. Mother goes from table to stove. Father eats. Randy whines. Life is back to normal. Interior bedroom. Ralph lies in bed.
The cold air blew the curtains back and forth as we caught the tail of a wind from the great north woods, the wilderness at the head of the lake. Both of us rested quietly, me and my little red-eyed, fanged, furry Tasmanian devil. We rested for the time being.
Dissolved to exterior Holman Street family crowd night. We see an extreme close-up of a huge Santa's head. It appears to be bobbling along in the air. Camera pulls back when we realize that what we have been seeing was a huge rubber Santa. We now realize we are seeing Holman Christmas parade. Camera pans up and zooms to Ralph and the family watching the parade flow by. Jingle bells fill the air.
I had awakened that morning with the glowing realization that all was not yet lost. There was one last hope, one appeal as yet unfiled, one glorious, maddening ray of daisy sunshine that had as yet not shone forth. The big man himself, number one, the head honcho, the connection, Santa Claus. Now it is well known that foolish men stuff themselves with pillows and other such devices and run around ringing bells in the street in order to siphon off some of the Christmas largesse. But it is equally well known that the real Santa Claus can be found at Higbee's department store in Holman, Indiana, and this is the official court of last appeal.
Camera pans off to the parade as the last Shriners march past and tilts up to see a huge Santa and reindeer above the gold-plated Higbee's department store sign. Cut to interior Higbee's family crowd night. We pull back from the real Santa's laughing face to take in the full scope of Higbee's department store. We see milling crowds of blue-jowled, agate-eyed foundry workers, gray-faced refinery men, motley hordes of open hearth, slag heap, Bessemer converted, tin mill, coke plant, and wielding shop fugitives trudging through the wildly pulsating store. Through floor after floor of shiny, beautiful, unattainable treasures, trailed by millions of leather-jacketed, high-topped, mufflered kids, worried-looking, flushed-faced mothers wearing frayed cloth coats with ratty fox fur collars, their hands clasped and raw from years of dishwater therapy, ride herd on the surging mob, ranging far and wide into the aisles and under the counters, cuffing, slapping, dragging whiners of all sizes from department to department. Ralph, Randy, mother, and father are carried forward by the waves of maddening shoppers. They pause by counters, Kofor briefly heads together. We do not hear what is being said, but then mother and father go off in the direction of the men's department. Camera stays with Ralph and Randy as they get in the end of the long line of nervous, fidgeting, greedy urchins waiting to see Santa Claus.
A line waiting to see Santa Claus stretched back at least to Terre Haute, and I was at the end of it, and closing time of 10 o'clock was racing nearer.
Long shot the line, it stretches like a human snake reaching to infinity.
It was not easy to disbelieve fully in Santa Claus because there wasn't much else to believe in, and there were many theological arguments over the nature of, the existence of, the affirmation and denial of his existence.
The shoving, restless, sniffling, whining line slowly inches forward. Far ahead, we see a gigantic snowy throne framed with red and white candy canes under a suspended squadron of plastic angels blowing a silver trumpets. The line slowly moves forward. Close up, store clock, 9:45.
Most of us were scoffers, but moments before 0 hour, with the air pulsing to the strains of We Three Kings of Orient are, the store windows garlanded with red and green wreaths, and the toy department bristling with shining flexible flyers, there were few who dared to disbelieve.
We see Ralph's point of view, a glowing golden grotto at the top of the high ramp. Ramp seen through Ralph's eyes is exaggeratedly high, like a soaring glass mountain stretching up to infinity before the kids.
The atheists among us grew moodier and less sure of themselves, until finally in each scoffing heart was the floating, drifting, nagging suspicion. Well, you never can tell. It did not pay to take chances, and so we waited in line for our turn.
Behind Ralph and Randy, a skinny 7-year-old girl wearing a brown stocking cap and gold-rimmed glasses hits her little brother steadily to keep him in line. He is wearing an aviator helmet with goggles pulled down over his eyes. His galoshes are open and his maroon corduroy knickers are damp. Behind them, a fat boy in a huge sheepskin coat stands numbly, his eyes watering in vague fear, his nose red and running. Camera takes in a long line, an uneven procession of stocking caps, mufflers, mittens, and earmuffs inching painfully forward. While in the hazy distance, in this magic glowing cave, Santa Claus waits and sit in each turn on his broad red knee. Over the serpentine line roars a great sea of sound, tinkling bells, recorded carols, the hum and clatter of electric trains whistling, tooting, mechanical cows mooing, cash registers dinging, and far off into the faint distance of the ho-ho-hoing of jolly old Saint Nick. Ralph and Randy wind slowly through the tricycle and bicycle department, jostling and pushing by the hordes of kids behind them. Suddenly, they reach the head of the line, the foot of Mount Olympus itself. Santa's enormous gleaming white snowdrift of a throne soars 10 or 15 feet above their heads on a mountain of red and green tinsel, carpeted with flashing Christmas tree bulbs and gleaming ornaments. Each kid in turn is prodded up a tiny staircase at the side of the mountain of Santa's left as Santa passes his last customer on to his right and down a winding red chute, which gives the kids a little ride down to the floor level and back into the oblivion for another year. Pretty ladies dressed in snow white costumes, gauzy gowns glittering with sequins and tiaras, clipped to their golden artificial hair, preside at the head of the line, directing traffic and keeping order. Randy begins to hang back, whining and whimpering steadily. Ralph herds him ahead of himself, while behind, the girl in the glasses does the same with her kid brother. Snow White grabs Randy's shoulder with an iron grip, launching him up the slope.
Get moving, kid. Quit dragging your feet.
Deafening music blasts from the speakers above. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Sung by 10,000 echo-chambered, reverberating chipmunks. Ralph's point of view, we see his brother's tiny yellow and brown stocking cap as it bobs on Santa's lap for what seems miles above the floor. We hear a thin, high trailing wail. Suddenly, the abyss opens before Ralph. Back to scene. Snow White grabs his elbow with an iron claw, and Ralph begins to struggle upward towards the mountaintop.
I've always felt that later generations of tots, products of less romantic upbringing, cynical non-believers in Santa Claus from birth, can never know the nature of the true dream. I was well into my 20s before I finally gave up on the Easter Bunny, and I'm not convinced that I'm the richer for it. I had long before decided to level with Santa, to really lay it on the line, no kid stuff. If I was going to ride the range with Red Ryder, Santa Claus was going to have to get the straight poop.
This Santa Claus is not the conventional department store Santa, but rather Santa as he is seen through a child's eyes. He is enormous, seemingly 8 feet tall, high, shiny black patent leather boots, a nimbus of snow white beard, and a real thrumming, belt creaking stomach. His voice is amplified to a thundering pitch. He seems vast, immense, enormous, world filling, godlike to the eyes of Ralph.
Ho, ho, ho! Ho, ho, ho! What is your name, little boy?
That's terrifying. Ralph quails as Santa reaches down and neatly hooks his sheepskin collar, swooping him upward. Ralph sits on Santa's huge knee, looking down and over the endless expanse of Toyland and down to the tiny figures that wind off into the distance.
That's a fine name, little boy. Ho, ho, ho! And what do you want for Christmas, little boy?
You not talking at me. Ralph stares straight ahead in mindless panic. His mouth opens, snaps shut, convulsively opens again with a feeble croak.
My mind had gone blank. Frantically, I tried to remember what it was I wanted. I was blowing it.
Wouldn't you like a nice football?
My mind groped. Football, football. What's a football? Without conscious will, my voice squeaked out.
Yeah. Ho, ho, ho! Get him out of here.
My God, a football.
Ralph is being slid off Santa's knee and deposited in the red chute for his slide to the ground. Just as he begins to slide, he comes to and struggles frantically, claws his way back up to the lip of the chute, and thrusts his face up over it desperately.
No. I want an official Red Ryder Carbon Action 200 shot range model air rifle with a special lightweight and compass in the stock with a pseudo.
Santa looks in surprise at the absurd figure of Ralph clinging to the chute.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
Santa reaches out gently with his boot and gives Ralph a little shove. We hear this no echo as he disappears.
Down the chute I went. I had never been struck by a bolt of lightning, but I know how it must feel. The back of my head was numb. My feet clanked leadenly beneath me as I returned to earth at the bottom of the chute.
Ralph meets Randy, who stands sniveling under a counter piled high with Raggedy Ann dolls. From nowhere, mother and father reappear.
Did you tell Santa what you wanted?
Yeah.
Did he ask you if you'd been a good boy?
No.
Don't worry. He knows anyway. He knows.
Maybe that was it. My mind reeled with the realization that maybe Santa did know how rotten I had been, and that the football was not only a threat, but a punishment. I could see that either my father or Santa, or perhaps both, were not content to let bygones be bygones.
Ralph looks hangdog. All hope is gone. The family, like a salmon swimming upstream, begin to struggle through the crowd to the front doors of the store. From the distance, we can still hear Santa Claus.
Merry Christmas! Ho, ho, ho!
Dissolved to exterior Parker House night. The house is nestled in the snow. The night is crisp and brilliant. Interior living room, Ralph, Randy, mother, father, night. It is after dinner. The family is trimming the tree on the most important of all nights, Christmas Eve. The tree, complete with a bare spot, which did not fluff out, is standing in its little red tin holder, fragrantly, toweringly, teeteringly. Father stands on a ladder, also teetering, stringing lights at the top of the tree.
All right, plug him in.
Mother scrambles around, finds extension cord under sofa, plugs in Christmas tree lights.
Son of a bitch!
We can't hear you, Mother.
Hit the wrong key. What's the matter?
The green ones ain't lit. Damn it.
The green ones are lit. It's the blue ones.
Don't tell me, damn it.
Someone colorblind? Father scrambles down the ladder, gets a new bulb, runs back up the ladder to the top of the tree, screws in the new bulb.
Okay, plug her in again.
Mother plugs the string of lights into the extension.
Our entire world was strung together with extensions. Outlets in our house were rare and coveted.
The Christmas tree lights up.
Ah,
The Christmas tree goes out. Lights blink and dim. The kitchen light burns wildly for one moment, flickers, goes out.
damn it.
Father runs down the ladder, grabs the extension, and unplugs the Christmas lights.
Get the extension from the toaster.
Ralph and Randy run to the kitchen.
Occasionally, in some houses, a critical point was reached, and one of these electrical bombs went off, sometimes burning down whole blocks of homes, or more often blowing out the main fuse, plunging half the town into darkness.
Ralph and Randy return carrying the extension from the toasters.
Okay, come on, give it here. Let's go.
Father plugs the extension into the rat's nest of electrical junk, rams the plug from the tree into the extension, and hurries up the ladder.
Okay, plug it in.
Mother plugs it in. The Christmas tree lights up. The house remains lit.
Aw, why isn't that pretty?
Son of a bitch.
The tree stands in all its splendid, fragrant beauty. Father comes down the ladder. The family stands in awed silence around the tree, drinking in its magnificent beauty.
Okay, give me the star.
Mother digs into the cardboard box. Father climbs the ladder.
Be careful.
Oh, for Christ's sake, I know what I'm doing.
Father leans over from the ladder, places the star at the top of the tree. For a moment, all hangs suspended. The tree glows. Ralph and Randy admire. Mother nervously wrings her hands, then slowly, majestically, the tree begins to tilt.
Oh, be careful.
Damn it, son of a bitch.
Father grabs the top of the tree and shoves it back upright. The star is now noticeably cockeyed.
Ah, okay,
Nobody mentions the crooked star.
perfect.
He runs down the ladder, rubs his hand, and admires the tree. Mother sighs and wipes her hands on her apron. Mother glances at the clock.
Oh, goodness, look at the time. I hope Santa Claus hasn't had to pass up this house because some boys weren't in bed when he came by.
Yeah, I heard some sleigh bells a while back heading up the other side of the street.
I want to see Santa. I want to see Santa.
Randy dashes to the window.
I was good all year, Santa. Ralphie said bad words twice, and I never said any.
Hey!
Randy, Santa doesn't like tattletales.
Randy looks at them. A moment of indecision flickers on his face.
But Ralphie didn't mean nothing, Santa.
Squealer!
All right, you two, that's it. Up the stairs.
On the double.
Window. The boys dash up the stairs. Mother and the old man look at one another. Exterior, Ralphie's house, night. A light snow falls. Camera peers from across the street. We see Mother and the old man as they play Santa Claus. The old man opens the front door and goes to the trunk of the olds. It is a calculated risk. Several of the bumpus hounds stir. A howl sets up and the old man dashes for the door, slipping and sliding on the new snow. He makes the front door one step ahead of the furry mass. Interior Ralph's bedroom night. Ralphie stares forlornly from his bed. We see the light snow falling outside of his window. Camera moves in on his face.
Kid dreams die hard. Even though the official and final word had come down from Santa Claus himself, I found myself listening to some distant clamor of hope. After all, bears had been spotted down at Pulaski's candy store.
Camera moves in on Ralphie as he fantasizes. Exterior rooftop night. We see Santa Claus and the reindeer on a very fairy tale like snow covered rooftop. He is being menaced by the same burglars from Ralphie's first fantasy. Ralphie appears racing over the rooftops. He's chased off the bandits with his trusty air rifle and is rewarded by Santa, who piles presents after present on top of Ralphie. Dissolve 2, interior, exterior, bedroom, backyard day. Ralphie stirs from sleep. The bright light from the window makes him shield his eye. He leans over the bed and peers out. Camera pans to look out the window into the backyard. An overnight ice storm has touched the neighborhood with a crystal wand. The morning sun sends sprays of color light radiating from the gnarled silver icicles that cover everything: trees, wires, eaves, fencing. It's the fairy kingdom. Ralphie turns from the window.
Randy, Come on.
Interior house day, we see Ralphie and Randy creeping down the stairs. They stop and stare into the living room. Camera pulls back to find great heaps of tissuey, crinkly, sparkly, and Natick packages under the tree, half hidden amid the folds of white bed sheets that look in soft light like some magic snowbank. Ralph and Randy stare in awe at the tree and the packages beneath it.
Santa Claus had come. My brother circled around the tree, moaning softly while I, cooler and more controlled, quickly eyed the mountain of revealingly wrapped largesse and knew the worst.
Mother and the old man enter behind them. They sit down and watch the kids' reaction to the presents.
Christmas had officially begun. We plunged into the cornucopia, quivering with desire and the ecstasy of unbridled avarice.
In the background, on the radio, Lionel Barrymore's wheezy, friendly old voice speaks kindly of Bob Cratchit's and Tiny Tim and the ghost of old Marley. Ralph grabs a package. It is tagged to Randy from Santa. Ralph furiously passes it over to Randy and returns to work. He pulls out a largest, lumpy, red wrapped gift. We see the tag reads to Ralphie from Aunt Clara. Frantically, Ralph tears the wrapping off. It's a pair of slippers, bunny slippers. Ralph's mouth drops open.
Oh no, a pair of fuzzy pink, idiotic, cross-eyed, lop-eared bunny slippers. Aunt Clara had for years labored under the delusion that I was not only perpetually 4 years old, but also a girl. There we go.
Oh, aren't they sweet?
Ralph looks disgusted.
Oh, Aunt Clara always gives you the nicest presents. Oh, put them on, see if they fit.
Ralph puts on the slippers.
Immediately, my feet began to sweat as those two fluffy little bunnies with the blue button eyes stared sappily up at me. And I knew that for at least 2 years, I would have to wear them every time Aunt Clara visited us. I just hoped that Flick would never spot them, as the word of this humiliation could easily make life at Warren G. Harding's school a veritable hell.
So how did the slippers turn into a full PJs? Next to Ralph, Randy silently, doggedly strips package after package until he hits the Zeppelin.
Wow, a Zeppelin! Whee! Whee! Wow!
Randy launches it upward into the middle branches of the tree. 2 glass angels and a golden bugle crash to the floor and a string of lights winks out.
Oh, sorry, I was too busy. It's not supposed to fly, you nut.
Oh, what good is a Zeppelin that doesn't fly?
It rolls and beeps. Wow, that's pathetic.
Randy on his knees begins pushing Zeppelin, beeping fiendishly, propellers clacking madly across the living room rug.
It was a sound that was to become sickeningly familiar.
Randy continues to play with Zeppelin. Ralph opens more packages. A Sandy Andy, a dump truck, a Monopoly game, etc.
My brother's gift to me was the only bright spot in an otherwise remarkably mediocre haul, a rubber Frankenstein face.
Ralph immediately puts on Frankenstein face.
Oh, how terrible. Oh, take it off and put it away.
I think it looks good on him.
Ralph stands up, does his famous Frankenstein walk, clumping stiff-leggedly around the living room and back to the tree. Finally, it's all over. There are no more mysterious packages under the tree, only a great pile of crumpled tissue paper, string, and empty boxes. Randy lies dozing amid the rubble, the Zeppelin clasped in one hand and his new fire truck in the other.
There was no denying that I had scored heavily with the Simonese and the Fly Swatter, as well as the Zeppelin. The joy of giving can uplift the saddened heart, but then it came. I must admit I had been completely taken in.
Father leans forward in his easy chair, his 8th glass of wine in his hand. He gets up ceremoniously and moves over to the tree.
Say, don't I see something over there stuck behind the drapes? Why, I think there is something over there behind the drapes.
Ralph looks up, afraid to believe. He runs to the drapes and pulls them out. Sure enough, there it is, a long, heavy, red-wrapped package. It is marked to Ralphie from Santa. Frantically, Ralph tears the wrapping off.
A Red Ryder carbine action range model BB gun.
Ralph makes an inarticulate gasp of surprise and ecstasy.
Blue steel barrel, graceful and taut, its dark polished stock gleaming like all the treasures of the Western world. And there, burned to the walnut, his level gaze unmistakable, his jaw clean and hard, was Red Rider himself. His face was even more beautiful and malevolent than the pictures in the advertisements showed.
Father grins broadly, expansively. Mother smiles a weak, doubtful smile. Over the radio thunders a thousand-voiced heavenly choir. Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Ralph digs back into the box, comes up with the tubes of BBs and black and white printed targets.
I could hardly wait to try it out, but the instruction book said in Red Rider's own words, kids, never fire a BB gun in the house. I never shoot anybody but bad guys, and I don't want any of my friends hurt.
All right, you try it out, but outside, and you be careful, Ralphie. I still say those things are dangerous.
Ralphie gathers up his booty and dashes out. The old man and mother look after him.
And don't shoot at any birds or animals.
Except Bumpus hounds.
Now hush. Ralphie, be careful.
By this time, Mother's in the kitchen and pulling a golden succulent turkey out of the oven. She places it on the table. The old man pulls some skin away.
Oh, for heaven's sake, it's not even done yet. Now, go read the funnies and let me work.
Exterior backyard day.
I stood in the clean air, ready to consummate my great, long, painful, ecstatic love affair.
Ralph brushes snow off the front step, props a gleaming Red Rider target, the black ring and the bullseye standing out starkly against the snowy whiteness. He backs off into the snow a good 20 feet, slams the stock down into his left kneecap, hooks his fingers into the icy carbine lever, and cocks his blue steel beauty for the first time. Ralph sights over the barrel slowly. Slowly, he squeezes the frosty trigger. Back, back, back.
For one instant, I thought wildly, it doesn't work. We'll have to send it back.
Crack! The gun jerks forward. Ralph's horn-rimmed glasses spin from his head into the snowbank. He stands paralyzed, not knowing what has happened. Blood trails down his cheek and onto the walnut stock of the Red Rider BB gun. The BB has ricocheted off the tin target and struck Ralphie in the cheek. Finally, snapping out of his daze, Ralphie scrambles around in the snow for his glasses. He finds them at last.
I knew immediately that I had not shot my eye out, but the glasses were another story. They were pulverized. Few things in those times brought such swift and terrible retribution on a kid as the pair of busted glasses. The left lens was out as clean as a whistle. And for a moment I thought, I'll fake it. They'll never know the lens is gone. But then gingerly fingering my rapidly swelling black eye, I realized that here was a shiner on the way that would top even the one I got from Grover Dill.
The back door opens just a crack. Ralph can see the blur of his mother's Chinese red Chanel bathrobe.
Oh, be careful. Don't shoot your eye out.
She hadn't seen. She didn't know. Rapidly, my mind evolved a spectacular plot. It would work. It had to work.
Ralph dashes into the house, meets Mother right inside the door. Mother sees his broken glasses, sees the long bloody scrape on his cheek.
There was this icicle and it fell and it hit the gun, and then this icicle and the gun flew up and it bounced up and it cut, and I tried to get out of the ice, but the icicle fell off the roof and hit the gun and it bounced up and hit me.
I began to cry, faking it at first.
It fell off the roof.
Interior bathroom, Ralph, Mother, day. Mother leads Ralph into the bathroom, wet washcloth and cold water, puts it on Ralph's cheek. Ralph still clutching BB gun to his chest.
There now. See, it's just a little bump. You're lucky you didn't cut your eye. Ugh, those icicles sometimes even kill people. You're really lucky. Okay, here. Hold this rag on it.
I had pulled it off.
What's going on?
Oh, nothing. We'll be right down and stay away from that turkey. It has to cook for another hour. You'll get worms.
Now it is well known throughout the Midwest that the old man is a turkey junkie, a bona fide galley turkicanus freak. A few days before Christmas, his eyes would begin to gleam with a wild and ravenous light. Every few hours, he would check his carving set to make sure the knife was honed, the fork tines sharp.
Interior kitchen day. We see the old man leaning over the turkey, drawing a long, deep draft of turkey essence into his nostrils. He glides back into his chair and sits, taking up the sports page with great satisfaction. Interior bathroom day, Mother is still cleaning Ralphie's wounds.
Life is like that. Sometimes at the height of our reveries, when our joy is at its zenith, when all is most right with the world, the most unthinkable disasters descend upon us.
We hear a huge crash, followed closely by another, then a thundering bellow from the old man. Interior living room day, we see the old man peering in horror over his newspaper. After a beat, we see what the tragedy is. A blur streaks by the foreground of our shot. The old man stares, then another blur whizzes by, then another, and then we realize we're seeing the Bumpus hounds. Now the whole pack roars past. The old man scrambles to his feet.
Holy Christ, the turkey! The turkey! Those goddamn dogs! The turkey!
He races for the kitchen just in time to see the dogs leap up on the table, grab the 12-pound turkey in a mass of snarling fury, disappear through the kitchen door, all but taking it off the hinges. Ralphie and Randy and Mother arrive just in time to see the old man staring out the door as the sound of the hounds recedes into the distance. Finally, the old man turns and walks back to the kitchen. He stands looking down at the big sheet of wax paper dripping with warm turkey gravy, the big clumps of oyster stuffing.
The heavenly aroma still hung heavy in the house, but it was gone, all gone. No turkey sandwiches, no turkey salad, no turkey gravy, turkey hash, turkey a la king, or gallons of turkey soup. Gone, all gone. The old man came as close to crying as I'd ever seen him come.
The old man stands there quivering with frustration. Finally,
Get your coats. We're going to the Chinese joint. We're going to have chop suey.
the old man exits with a flourish. Camera holds on Mother, Ralphie, and Randy. They stare.
We understood, naturally. There was no other restaurant open on Christmas Day, but it went deeper than that. But we understood.
Exterior, interior Chinese restaurant dusk. We hear a faint Chinese tune emanating from the restaurant. We are across the street looking in at the family. They are the only customers. The happy Chinese family hover around them. Two waiters come marching out with wilted potted palm dotted with a sad string of colored lights. They are followed by a waiter carrying a tray bearing a large duck. The tray is placed before the family. We hear an exchange, then the old man begins to beam. The family digs in.
That Christmas would live in our memories as the Christmas when we were introduced to Chinese turkey. All was right with the world.
Dissolve to exterior house night and nestles sleepily in the snow. Interior Ralph's bedroom, Ralph Knight lies awake, a smile on his face.
Next to me in the blackness lay my oiled blue steel beauty, the greatest Christmas gift I had ever received. Gradually, I drifted off to sleep, pringing ducks on the wing and getting off spectacular hip shots as I dissolved into nothingness.
Interior living room night. The lights are dim, only the Christmas tree glows. Its icicles reflected the multicolored bulbs. The gentle sound of Silent Night swells softly from the Crosley Cathedral radio. Mother has cleared away the last of the debris. She crosses the room to where the old man sits, luxuriating in the glow of the wine and the moment. Mother stops and looks down at the old man. For brief moments, all is right with the world. They look at one another with oneness of satisfaction that comes rarely to any of us. It's a nice moment, simple, uncontrived, and affecting. Mother sits beside the old man and their hands entwine and they share. No words are needed. Interior Ralphie's bedroom. The room is dark. We hear a faint sound like a beeping. Camera dollies toward the sound. We can make out a figure under the covers. The beeping sound gets louder. As we near the bed, Randy suddenly pops out from under the covers and looks around furtively and comically for a moment. Then he lifts his Zeppelin from under the covers and whirls it through the air a couple of times, then ducks quickly beneath the blanket and continues his joyous journey with his magical Zeppelin. Camera pans slowly over to the sleeping Ralph. Old blue lies across his chest, the strains of Silent Night flowing gently up to us. Camera moves slowly from Ralph's blissful face to take in the crystal starlight night. Roll credits. The end.
All right. Thank you, everybody who just witnessed this magical moment. And thank you and good night.